Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Mm-mm. See, so today we can add like I think what would be nice to do is if we added a little bit more information on the plants per each one we're dimensioning. So we left off yesterday. Let's see, we did Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Oh, thank you for the hearts and follows. We left off. Hi. We left off on Virgo, and we didn't finish the rest, and then we jumped to Sag and Cap. So we're gonna fill out the rest of these ones, go over those ones and the plants that worked, and then we're gonna start listing to fill these out, what plants do best based off of each constellation sign, and then we'll get into more information, and it just keeps on kind of like static from there. Welcome in. Do you like to plant, garden, or farm? Are you familiar with any plant magic or any botanical, or do you use any botanicals and stuff like that? I always like to get a good rough idea of where people are with information that they know. And the goal is always to kind of like bridge the gap between gardeners, farmers, spiritualists, naturopathic, sustainable practitioners, and like all those I think can be well blended together. Finding like a common ground. And one thing I like about this, the PA foundation that we've built and used is based off a lot of that common ground of things that have already been laid before us that we just show in ways that can be easily understood. So when we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer here, and we're thinking about garden, plants, agriculture, and environment, this can be looked at also as an elemental map. So it's also fire, earth, air, and water, and that repeats fire, earth, air, and water, and that also lets me know what's next in the cycle or what's missing. So we talk about a lot of when you learn a foundation, it becomes plug and play, like a puzzle. So if you're someone who struggles to know, let's say, the zodiacs in order, if you were to see this map, then you can also understand that maybe you can think of it in a couple of different ways. One way could be, like we said, the elements. Another way could be the seasons. Even though there are 4 seasons, in a lot of places, the seasons are really kind of like blended between 3. And then the 4th being, you'll kind of see where it can kind of align. But sometimes one of them can be split. So you typically have like your spring, your summer, and then your winter. Spring can be looked at as spring and fall because you have that double. So if you're someone who's like, I want the 4, then you could, the idea of what this would be is the 4s and the cycle of 4 seasons. So, but we start in spring, ending the beginning of summer or middle of summer. Summer goes into fall, and then fall comes into winter, and then winter ends back up into spring. So it's still there, just a little different. All right, so now after Virgo, if we want to know what's the next constellation, we can see that above it is Gemini, which is an air sign. This means that this section would also have to be an air sign, or whatever constellation this would be an air sign, and under it would be an air sign. So we only got 4 left that we haven't gone through. This one here is going to be Libra. And then after Libra, we get another water sign. So that's going to be Scorpio and Scorpio. And then so again, then it repeats. So it's fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air. That last one we're missing. Yes, I'm probably spelling this one wrong. I'm sorry. I always butcher that one. I'll fix it. And then lastly, our last water sign is going to be Pisces. I think I spelled that one right. Sorry, those ones steal me. That's why we don't see these ones spelled all the way. It's like that last row. I'm always like, instead of butchering it, we'll just put what we think it is. So, with Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. And again, on the elemental factor, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water. Okay, so then when we think about the plants to work with, fire represents the fruits, earth represents the roots, air represents the flowers, water represents the leaves. So when we think about this as a gardening calendar, we're working with fruit plants, earth plants, or root plants, flowering plants, and leaf plants. So if I'm harvesting tomatoes, if I'm harvesting potatoes, if I'm harvesting flowers, or if I'm harvesting the leaves. Typically this is like the more of the medicinal herbs. So if you're a medicinal herb farmer and you deal with a lot of medicinal herbs, then typically you're in the energy of water signs. Or when the moon passes by a water constellation, you're going to be a lot more prevalent to understanding when the moon passes by Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. That's when you do most of your work, a lot of your farm and garden, and then the other stuff ends up being time to rest, time to do different things. So what we can do now is we can duplicate this, and we're going to put this in the middle of one of these. Oh, thank you for the hearts. And we're going to make this fire, because we know this is a fire sign. And then, like I said, under that represents the fruits of our. There you go. This text just kills it for me sometimes. So yeah, so this represents the fruits. Let me pull up this so I can make sure that you guys can also see what I'm doing. Oh, okay, and I'll leave that over here. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so this is fire and fruits. We have Aries. And then we can take this, we're gonna copy this. I'm gonna plant another one right here. Let's center that. Perfect. So now we move over to Taurus. Welcome, Emily. We move over to Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. And then with the earth sign and what those are connected to are going to be the roots of plants. How's it going? How's your Saturday? So when the moon passes by a constellation of an earth sign, then we know that we're working with the root crops or any plants and medicinals, whether it's spiritually, metaphorically, or physically. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and so like root veggies or all roots or plants, both. So if I'm getting like a potato, a sweet potato, or ginger, those ones, but also let's say I'm working with echinacea root, burdock root, ashwagandha root, any one of those, then I'm also working with that. Let's say I'm getting dye from a plant that has a deep root color and the root changes the color of the dyes and is able to do that, then that would be another time or another type of plant that I would work with. Some people can even be like, if you're, there's different versions of transplanting. So some transplanting requires more work with the roots. If you're doing root cuttings, anything in that aspect would fall under, let's duplicate this, Taurus, Virgo, and as well as Capricorn. There we go. The root connecting the plants and nutrients, the plant and the ground, so fitting for the earth signs. Exactly. So it's this is a really good foundation that we tell people, like, if you already understand some parts of astrology, if you already understand some parts of spirituality or nature, then it just allows gardening to be more understood, and it's a really good clock and foundation. Cap is earth, correct. Oh shoot, sorry. Why did that? Oh, it's because I pasted that one. I didn't duplicate it. My apologies. Thank you on that. Where are you at? There we go. Okay. So then we move over to, let's just duplicate this and we'll change it. Our Gemini. So Gemini being an air sign. Do the airs rule over flowers? Yes. Airs rule over flowers. So airs rule over flowers. The fragrance, the smell, the wind, pollinators. It's very connecting. Anytime I just started astrology school a couple months ago, so I've been familiar with the signs. Like, oh, that's cool. Are you? Is it like a school to become like a specific thing with astrology? Are you? Is it like in college, like to become like astronomer, or is it you're taking courses in astrology? That's pretty cool though. I can always do better at studying astrology because like the more I learn astrology, the more it makes even the stuff that I've been learning make more and more sense. So it's awesome. Hellenistic astrology. I've been seeing that word pop up like for the last 2 weeks. I don't know exactly what it is. I have to look into it. But I've been seeing it pop up like all over the place in the last 2 weeks. I'm like really curious. Just like dive more into like what that's about. And then I'm going to dive into medical astrology and herbal medicine. Oh, I love medical astrology. Medical astrology is really cool. We practice medical astrology and a lot of the martial arts that we get into that I've done. A lot of the forms and different teachers have different medical astrology theories that they talk about and that we do. I love medical astrology. I think that's really cool. That talks about like because one of I'm gonna off tangent really quick, but there's a practice called the 13 gates that we do, which like it's a great stretching routine and unlocks like all the 13 joint movements in our body. So like your head, because it can be pivoted as one, your shoulders are 2 and 3 because they can be pivoted, your elbows 4 and 5, but you go to 13 all of them. But then in medical astrology as well, you learn about the 12 zodiacs within the body and how that connects. So there's just so many cool things in it when it comes into that. I'm a big fan of medical astrology. Okay, so let's do Tate. They were popping up with your introduction for her to explain it in the future. Right? Yeah, no, I'm going to. I'm so curious. I'm so curious to see, to learn more about it. But it's been popping up all over my feed. Okay, so we're gonna put air and flowers for Libra, and air and flowers for Aquarius. So if you're making tinctures, or let's say you use rose water, if you're into hydrosols, if you're into flower essences, any of those things, if you're getting the dye color from the flower and not the dye color from something else. Hellenistic astrology is an ancient astrology that developed in the Egyptian and Mediterranean region. Cool. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Because I don't like I've heard of many different things, but for some reason recently that specific word it's just been popping up, and I haven't seen it before, so I was like, okay. But now I'm like really curious. I didn't know it was in this based off of like Egyptian astrology, because it was the most accurate form of astrology. It was buried church. Sick. I'm so curious. I'm curious on what they follow, like based on the degrees and stuff. So that stuff I find interesting. Okay. So yeah, those are the things that you would do for any of the flower times, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And remember, we're looking at this in multiple ways now. This is the constellations. This is the elemental factors: fire, earth, air, water repeats. And then we also have 3 different seasonalities, or the 4 seasons. So we can look at this as spring, summer, fall, and then winter, going back into spring. Look at it that way, or the 3 different I like as much as 4 seasons is what we all kind of know by. In most places, you truly don't get 4 seasons. And a lot of times it's like 3 to 2.5, and depends, and especially with the seasons changing, with all the whether it's heating up and everything, it's very different right now. So one thing I do like about what this kind of shows is I like to just say you get your spring, your summer, and your winter. And you can kind of understand the 4 different energies of that. You have a fire in spring, a fire in summer, and a fire in winter. And on the energetic factor, that really helps a lot. Oh, what now? Being yelled at for something about my live. Let's submit it. Okay. What did my miss be? Water signs, above ground veggies. So water signs are going to be leaves. So let's go ahead and add this next one. So we're going to put you in alignment with those right there. Okay, so now we have water, and water connects to the leaves of the plants. Oh, how do we spell that wrong? Oh, all my little letters are all messed up on my board. Yes, the water is connected to the leaves of the plant, and a part of that. Oh, hi, plants. Hello. A part of that is due to the water content and the leaves. So think about when you're making tea. When you're making tea, you harvest the leaves, and the goal is to extract out the water content in the leaves, so that way you can dry the tea, place it into something else, and then have the tea be able to absorb the water content back into the leaves. So when we're using a lot of leaves and a lot of more drying leaves and leaf content for different things, it's to be able to control the water evaporation rate before and after the plant's life. So when you're using fresh leaves, you typically want plants with a lot of water content in them, or depending on the leaves, you want plants with a lot of oil in them. So it's the traveling aspect of liquid being able to be put in and out of something. And that's really why the leaves are like connected to the water, because you also learn that in the cycles of leaves, things that later on we talk about when we add the moon into it, what about smoking leaves? Also affects it, but it does connect it as well, because you want the dry, if you have too much water in your leaves when you're smoking something, it can affect the cleanliness of the burn. So you learn how to control the evaporation rate based off of the things that you use for many different things, whether it can be cannabis or anything else. So it's like, that's why for cannabis, one of the biggest process they talk about is curing, which is how to be able to get the perfect amount of water content in your plant matter without it messing up the consumption. So then when you get into using more dried herbs and spices, you have to learn to get all the water out of the content. Otherwise, it can get moldy if you try to store it. So everything is about saving the oil or using the water within the leaves. So anything that we want the aspect out of the leaves for. Later on, we talk about the moon, and then we talk about the rise and fall of the energy. So we talk about how the moon pulls the water content out of the ground or into the leaves, and then it pulls that water content back into the ground, into the roots and starches, and then it ebbs and flows, and it has this breath, the same way that the earth has its breath. That's what's happening. We get this push and pull of the tides, we get this push and pull of water. There's always water being moved, just like our body. We always have blood in the top of our head, but we have this constant flow of pressure that's happening and being pushed and pulled back down. So we start to learn that and see that we can time the different times to be able to acquire and obtain, whether it's the water in the leaves, whether it's the essence in the flowers, whether it's the starch and sugar in the roots, or whether it's the prime fruit and the solar pranic aspect. So the water in the leaves is going to, there we go. It's going to also be, where we go? In the middle, there, Scorpio. Perfect, we got one for Scorpio, and then we're gonna come down here and put one for Pisces. Okay, awesome. And then let's fill this out and just add the last two that we didn't do. We have our Leo and fruits. And fruits are really about when, anything that holds seed inside of it. So it has to hold seed inside of it, and it can be a fruit above ground, preferably. If we had something below ground, typically it's going to be considered our root crops. That was when we pull the moon factor back into it. But we'll leave it for just this for now, and then we'll scroll down, and then we'll work through these. And then a lot of them will start to make more sense once we add the moon. Because the goal is that the moon tells you when to do the things. The constellations tell you with what to do it with. So you don't have to ask, what to grow right now, what should I plant right now, or what am I looking? No, it's where's the moon? Okay, I know where the moon is, so I know if I'm planting or harvesting. I know what I'm preparing for based off the season, or where the sun is in the constellation, which is what we call a month. And then when I look at the constellation for the lunar aspect, when the lunar ecliptic, that tells me what plants we're working with. So the moon passes by the constellation of Aries. Let me get a text box. Let's add one of these. Give me one of these. Let's make this 20. Perfect. Okay. So Aries, we talked about our fruit crops. Now we have Aries of solar, so when the sun passes Aries, and then we have when the moon passes Aries, two different energies. When the sun passes Aries, we're in springtime. The moon can pass Aries in every single month, so therefore we get that fire energy in a little bit of every aspect throughout the months. However, when the sun passes Aries, springtime. So we're gonna base this off of the Aries sun and Aries within the Aries sun. So all the things that you can plant as a fire sign in the sun of Aries. Okay, if that makes sense. So we're gonna take this, and as that, those are going to be all of our fruit crops. So all of our springtime fruit crops that we like to start off the bat. So we're gonna have our tomatoes. We have our peppers. Depending on where you are, you could have melons. That depends on where you are. Depending on where you are, you could also have squashes. And these go for indoors and outdoors. So one thing I like about the foundation is that we tell people it doesn't matter where you are, because nature is everywhere, whether indoors or outside. So even if you're indoors and you have no way to grow outside, we still follow the same clock. So the clock is just letting us know what to do. Okay, so tomatoes, peppers, squashes. We can get into things like peas, beans. Yes, my love. Apple juice. Apple juice for later. You gotta eat breakfast first. I know. We had it last night. Tomatoes, peppers, melons, squashes, peas, beans. Okra is not bad. It's a little bit later, but we can also throw okra in there regardless. And we'll leave for that for now. I also put fruit trees in this category. Berries in this category. You want chocolate milk? You gotta wait. Mommy already got you chocolate milk. Did you drink it? Oh, we don't have milk? Okay, then you gotta wait. Sorry, you gotta wait till we go to the store. Alright, tomatoes, peppers, melons, squashes, peas, beans, okra, fruit trees, berries. All of those are good things that can be planted for a springtime in areas. Oh, let's not mess this up, okay? This is important. Can I have the other one, please? Usar tu mano, por favor. Use your hands. Okay. Leo being the summertime fruits. So fruits filled with sun. Sag being the hardy weather fruit. Yes. Yeah, so Summer, like let's see the Leo in summer. So again, all of these can be planted in every fire sign. So let's say we're in December and the moon passes by Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius. Technically, I can start all of these. They may not be good for the season, but why the reason that we still say that is because if you're growing indoors, then you can still grow all of these year round. If you're an indoor grower, you can grow year round. So the goal is that you're still following the season. Yeah, exactly. So for the winter time, if we're looking at the sun or the sun in Sagittarius, which is going to be the fire sign for the winter season, those are going to be more like I'm focusing on maybe eggplants, I'm focusing on cucumbers, I'm focusing on celery, I'm focusing on or not celery, sorry, egg cucumbers, passion fruit. Focusing more on probably a lot of the winter fruit trees, thick skin fruits. Yeah, your pumpkins, your melons. Focusing on a lot more of those, as much as maybe some things that again prefer the heat, which is only a few different ones. So you get depending on where you are. In Arizona out here, we pretty much can grow all year round. Or as an indoor grower, then you get the all year round season. Otherwise, we just change them based off of the energy and element and the temperature. If you're able to grow warm, then you grow all the warm. If you can only do the cool, then you do the cool. The springtime, typically it's a buffet. You can get away with a whole lot. So those are our Aries of plants. And again, we're more so speaking Aries sun, and plants that you can start of the Aries season in the Aries sign. Then we move over to Taurus. Let's copy this. Then we move over to Taurus. So this is going to be the Taurus sun, and then we have Taurus in Taurus. So what happens when the moon passes Taurus during when the sun is in Taurus? So that's going to be our May time. So this is technically in May, right before summer, mid-spring, and what we can do and what we can plant. So let's get rid of all of these. And for Taurus, as our earth crops, we get our radishes. We get our carrots. We get beets. We can start ginger. We can start garlic. We can start onions. And can't spell it today. Start onions. We can start burdock for burdock root. Burdock is a biennial Articulata. So typically the first young year is a great early sense for cooking burdock, for medicinal burdock. Then we're going for the second year for a longer taproot, more extended mature taproot. Burdock. Ooh, Jesus. I just need to pull out my other keyboard. Burdock root. We have Echinacea roots. Echinacea purpura. Is this when the crops put on mass become established in a sense? Yes. So if we think about in the nature way, so if we talk about the more, let's say, the native ways of what we looked at the moons to be, the full moons told the stories of what was happening in nature. So the moon right before this is the grass moon. I'm thinking the Taurus way. Okay, yeah. So what I'm saying, so the moon right before this is the grass moon. This moon becomes I believe this is the flower moon. So what happens is that in nature, in order for something to bud, the starch and sugars have to start to be released. So around this time in Taurus, what's happening as the sun passes into Taurus, the starch and sugars of many different things are starting to be able to be released, and that's why you start to get the swell of fruits. So you get the swell of the flower buds. So the buds start to swell, the roots start to swell, all these different things. So this is the time that we would start them for the year. Now, throughout the rest of the year, every time the moon passes by them, then we would start them in succession. But in a understanding like cycle of nature, if it was just snowing not too long ago, the grass just started. Now I'm seeing the flowers start to bud. That lets me know it's time to start my root crops. But it also lets me know that in a nature aspect, most likely the sun is starting to move in from position from Aries into Taurus. So it's like we can look at this as an astrologer, we can look at this as somebody who's looking at nature, or understand it as a farmer and gardener. So like a couple different ways. Yo, welcome in. Oh, peace, happy sunrise. So we did burdock root, echinacea root, dandelion root, because dandelion, the flowers just started to sprout open. So dandelion, peonies, and there's another flower, but there's some of the first signs of flowers that show. So after the leaves start to bud, the grass starts to bud, then you get the stalk and the flower. Once the flower is already there, that lets you know the taproot has already been established. So technically you'd pull the dandelion root right before the flower establishes. So you want all the energy to be focused in the roots. Or you would let it flower, because after Taurus, we did the Gemini, which is the air sign. You would let it flower, and you would harvest the flower instead, which you can still harvest the root and still harvest the leaves. But now because it flowered, there's way more energy, oil, starches, all in the flower, rather than everything being focused on the leaves and the roots. So we're following that same cycle. So we had dandelion roots. And I put dandelion root in there because it's a weed that's typically around many people, and that's a great one to watch in nature. Perfect. So next we get into Gemini. So we're gonna end on Cancer. So we're just gonna go through the one heated cycle, the one elemental cycle, and then we'll jump into the moon. Just double check my time. Yeah, we got 30 minutes. Perfect. Interesting. In May here in Michigan is the month for moral mushroom picking as well as wild ramps. Ah, that's so cool. I gotta add that. An underground bulb considered a root. Yes, an underground bulb is definitely considered a root. So that's like like tulips, saffron, all of those. Here, I can even put those in here. Tulips, saffron. So they're what? Yes, exactly. So right, it's so cool because in nature, basically elite. Yeah, basically elite. Tulips, saffron, leeks. Yeah, we'll put all those on there. Yeah. So exactly, if they start to swell, then you get some of those flowers. That's so cool with the mushrooms though. I gotta mark that. Please tell me you somehow incorporated botany for your job. I'm a big botany fan. I've been teaching plants and alchemy. It's a passion of yours, evidently. Yeah, I've been teaching plants and alchemy for a long time, over 10 years in the state of Arizona. I travel all around to teach a lot. I keep forgetting I swapped cameras. I apologize. But I travel a lot to learn and teach. But I'm one of the few more biodynamic farmers. I'm one of the only biodynamic farmers in the state, but in the U.S. there's not as many biodynamic farmers that teach openly as much as I'd wish. But I'm a big fan of it. Everything that I've learned most of is from indigenous native growers, and then understanding permaculture and sustainability and biodynamics. You teach it very well and are able to reference it back to so many things. Yeah, and I appreciate that. So that comes from like, I know Money left earlier, but that comes a lot from like my martial arts practices. I've had such amazing teachers, and the biggest thing I've learned from them is in ways on how to teach and how they taught. And like I would be in their classes and they would like, it's like they would be referencing certain things that to me had nothing to do with whatever they were teaching, but they would tie it together and it would just like I'd be like, I did it. And for me, like I always thought, I'm just someone who's like, it's hard for me to understand a lot of certain things, but respect, you bring tremendous intelligence on it to certain plants. Oh, I appreciate it. So yeah, no, it's just a big passion. So thank you. Anyway, but yeah, that's cool. I wanted to note that the moral thing. Can I pin this? Can I copy? Copy. Okay, where can I note this? We're just gonna open up a thing here. Boom. And I'm gonna save that for later. Cause that's cool. I definitely wanna look into the moral mushroom thing. That's awesome. Okay, so next. We're in Gemini. The ground temp has to be above 58 degrees. It's specific for mushrooms to fruit. That's cool. Has recently rained. Oh, has to have recently rained. Okay, so I know we have a few different like big mushroom spots out here in AZ that I haven't gone with like any like crazy mushroom heads. I've just done on my own adventures, but I've definitely wanted to look more into it. But I'm also really curious to see like the correlations on the astrological correlations on like when mushrooms fruit or body, if there's any different effects to them. We'll only find more morels near certain types of trees, apple and a few others, right? Because it's like I know that there's always synchronistic things. Not I'm sorry, synchronistic, more like synergistic. I can't think of the word. Synergistic, but like just the environment. So it's like, let's say something happens to like the maple tree, and then that allows the thing to fruit. Does that always happen under very specific certain circumstances, or is it like it may be 8 out of 10 times the moon is waxing, 8 out of 10 times the moon is waning? Like those are things that like are the patterns that I try to find and follow, rather than someone who's like, oh, this happens when it rains, or this happens if there's enough nitrogen in the soil, if there's enough this or that. It's like I understand all that in the plant world, but once I start to veer outside of other things like mushrooms, I'm like, okay, are these affected by like the stars? Like every Saturday, is it more likely that this one mushroom appears? Like it just like, it's so wild. It's so many cool things to find out. Okay, so Gemini crystals, right? Yeah, there's so much to learn. Bring back to my life, yeah, 100%. Sorry about today. You did. I feel the same. I'm always thinking like, oh my god, it's just like it's so cool. I'm just big plant nerd. Gemini to plants. So we're back in our air signs, and Gemini, Sun in Gemini. So we are in June. Sun in Gemini and Moon passing through Gemini. So Moon passing through Gemini is going to be the air signs of June. So all of our early summer, we get our summer solstice in June, so we get the start of summer, which is technically the longest day of the year, as well as there. So we get a lot of solar prana. I would definitely say that. Not the hottest. So even in some places it's not considered the hottest time of the year, but definitely the longest, definitely the brightest, and full of light. Definitely full of light. So as our Gemini sun, being in June, we have a lot of heat, obviously. So we're going to be doing flowers that are either going to be going towards the end of their life cycle. And the reason I say towards the end of life cycle is if we think about it as the grass started in Aries, in Taurus, the roots started to swell, and now in Gemini, the energy has shot up as the plants are ready to give their life. They're ready to pretty much spread their seeds. They're ready to end their cycle. Gemini reminds me of the pollen flying through the air. It's changing things, preparing to protect and cancer. Yeah. So it's also like the exaltation. So it's like a seed it's ready to be over. So in summer we get kind of like the first wave of death in a way to think about it, meaning that after some flowers or some of our annuals or some of our short seasons flower, their life is over. They have to, again, like you said, they either have to spread their seed or spread their pollen. Some plants, if they're if they're fruiting plants, then they go to the second stage of life. But a lot of times, some of the flowers, they flower and then they produce seed and they dry and they're done. So it's the ending of a life cycle, even though, as well as starting the new cycle. You're incorporating seed for the next plant. So this all has to do with like close to exaltation, the wind. Fact it isn't personal for plants. LOL, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's not just plants. It's definitely not just plants. On the can't talk today. The intention aspect behind it is when we bring in the alchemy. That's for like another talk to it, but we dive in the aspect of how this can all be translated, mental and spiritual. So everything that we're in nature, as above, so below, it's all reflections. If you understand it to be, and then you can use it like that and understand what this means on like how to manifest a thought into reality. Really, really cool. So the flowers that we typically see that we are either harvesting, working with, or planting for the next season. Got the chill. You did it. You did it. You get the feels. You get the feels. So right off the back, like we said before, dandelion root. Dandelion at that time typically is flowered. You're usually seeing fields of dandelion at that time. They're all ready to puff out and spread seed. We have most of our spring flowers that we started. So even though we didn't have like flowers or spring flowers on here in Aries, the start of springtime, that's not to say that we didn't plant spring flowers in Aries sun, but when the moon was in Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, we started spring seeds at that time, depending on the time, okay? But we weren't harvesting any flowers at this time. These are all things that technically are harvesting or that we're working with. Sorry, moved around. Okay, so now that it's Gemini and it's the air, or the sun is in Gemini, we're still working with all the Geminis and the moon, just like we have. But this is one of the bigger times that we have that really, what we call it in like in the alchemy aspect is like totality, meaning that if I wanted to make a tincture and I want it to be as pure as possible, then you find the plant to start the seed in its constellation with its moon and in totality as much as possible for it to be that. So if I wanted dandelion flower, if I wanted a tincture from dandelion flower, I'd have to wait until the moon and sun were both in Gemini, instead of starting dandelion in, let's say, in like Scorpio when we're in like October, when we're in October. I could start dandelion then too. The moon could be in Gemini, but it's an off season because it doesn't get its full warmth because then it receives cold. So these are the things that we mean by totality. So you start to just kind of learn how to match certain plants up. And again, this is just a small part of the foundation. We still have the whole moon to talk about and like how that kind of interprets stuff. So different flowers. We did dandelion. We did mallow. Mallow in different places, Malvaceae. Any part of the Malvaceae family typically is very good to be able to work with. Hibiscus, I'm going to separate hibiscus. Hibiscus is part of the Malvaceae family, but hibiscus is best. People know it as hibiscus and not necessarily as mallow. Mallow is more of a wild plant that grows in many different places, but also has different attributes. Both of them great. We get our calendulas. Calendula. Calendula, or Calendula officinale, is not the same as pot marigold. Okay, I'm gonna put marigold on here, and I'm gonna put not pot. Okay, because pot marigold is what most people know calendula to be. It's not a calendula, unfortunately. There's two separate plants. A marigold is a taggot, so let's just do this. Ooh. Marigold. We're gonna do this. Tag it. Okay. Calendula. Not marigold. And I promise you it'll make sense for later. That one's the ones that are planted are common plants to ward off pests. Yeah, so the reason I say that is because a lot of people come into like medicinal herb shops looking for calendula leaf, okay? And a lot of times the most common name for the calendula flower is pot marigold. But the marigolds do not have the same like I can't think of what it's called, not salicylic acid, but the same skin treatment that the calendula leaves have. So if you go in there and if you mention marigold at all, then you could end up getting the wrong plant. And I've seen that happen to some people, where I'm looking at the leaves and I'm like, someone dried this and this is not the marigold or calendula that you're looking for. And so a really quick view, just so we can see the difference. Calendula. Okay, so calendula, also, I even show you that it's going to say pot marigold. Do we get pot? Okay, yeah. So right off the, of course you guys can't see it. Can I move it over? No, I can't move it over. Well, I'll read it. Calendula officinalis, also known as pot marigold, is a hardy, easy to grow annual herb in the daisy family, Asteraceae. It's an aster plant. So when we looked at the leaves of it, it has flat leaves, flat petals. This is not what you use for Dia de los Muertos. This is not what you use for Diwali. This is not a necessarily culturally used plant for spiritual different things. But this is used in a common garden. You see this all over gardens. You do see this specific one sometimes used for medicinals. This is I prefer to use this as a medicinal plant. It has a lot more medicinals, but it's not used culturally to the extent that the other one is. So now let's go to marigold. So marigolds. Marigolds, tagets, are bright, easy to grow annual flowers native to the Americas. These are what we typically see for Dia de los Muertos. These are what you see for a lot more traditional plants. Again, can ward off pests, can be used a lot more in the garden, but are typically ceremonially seen in a lot more cultural settings, but not necessarily used for medicinal. I don't see these used dried. I don't see these leaves dried and used for medicinal aspects. That's the main thing. Not saying that you probably can't find something out of them, but I would say it would take a good amount of understanding how to extract to get it. So gotta put that difference in there whenever we're speaking on marigolds. One is a tagget, the other one is an aster. Boom. The crazy part is that you can look at, like, I've got tons of plant books, like hundreds, and you can go through them and half the plant books get that wrong. Even going back from a pretty way away, going back to like 1940 and 1950. Before then, you get very clear understandings of which one's aster, which one's tagget. Now it's so blended in books. I gotta tell somebody, like, open up a modern book and see what they call marigold or what they call calendula. It's always messed up. Cool. So thank you for the shares and the likes. Welcome in. Okay, so we're back to the sun in Gemini and the moon passing by in Gemini for any of the air signs and what to do. So what plants we're working with. We got our dandelion, our mallow, hibiscus, calendula, not marigold, a marigold, tagget. We also have our roses, our purple at this time. Remember, anything that we use to make hydrosols, rose waters, anything for fragrances, any of the first blooms that are kind of happening. Typically, if you started your any flowers in the winter, then you also have things that should be ready to have started blooming after they sprung up from early. So you have things like lavenders. You should have, what are they called? I think actually you said it earlier. The ranunculus. There you go. I'm gonna say run because I don't know how to spell that. So you got ranunculus. And when someone back to me, potting plants while listening to you. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, one of my favorite things. I love old school, like just listening to like teachers and podcasts. Big fan of that. I miss lectures. I miss. That's just me though. I know some people don't like it, but I miss all the good lectures. And future plans for free lesson. Heck yeah! Walmart they were throwing out. Oh, that's a win. That's a win. Samesies, right? Yeah. Some of my favorite teachers I still listen to are like old 10 years, 15-year-old lectures of like botany and plants. Still my favorite. Okay. So roses, lavender, sunflowers. Can't believe we didn't put that one on there. The longer the better, right. Yeah, Dr. Elaine Ingram, awesome. Tad Hussey, awesome. I used to listen to like those 5-hour, 3-hour long Alan Watts videos. Oh my god. Good days. Lavender, ranunculus, sunflowers. Let's hit a couple more. Let's see if we're doing cut flowers. And we have safflower. Safflower is a great cut flower. We have allium. Allium is a great cut flower. We also have chamomile. I didn't even think about that one. And lastly, we'll do spilanthes. That's just one of my favorites. Okay, perfect. So these are just some good flowers you can do. We got cut flowers, you got medicinals, you got dyes, just different things in here that can be used, that can be grown. And again, this can be copied for Libra and for Aquarius, but that's for the moon. The sun will change. So some of these are more warm and some of these won't be able to do well when it's an Aquarius. So Aquarius, when it's too cold, roses won't work. Lavender is not going to work. Sunflower is not going to work. A lot of these aren't going to work, but some of them can. So that's what we mean, the difference between when the sun is in something and the moon is in something. Moon, you can pretty much get away with a lot of things all the time. So lastly, we have our paste, or water. So our Cancer. When we are in smack dab summer and we are in the first water, and this one, unfortunately, is not the best water sign placement to be in. To be honest, there's not a lot of things that resonate with the what we call water of fire, which is Cancer, the sun in Cancer, and trying to do leafy plants in this time. It really depends. We're more focusing on oil-based plants. Smaller leaf plants are going to be plants that excel at this time, rather than plants that are larger leaves. And that again is because they have a better control of the water in their leaves and their evaporation rate. So that again lets us know that we care about the water and the oil in the plants. So when the sun is in Cancer and the moon passes by, what things can we work with around those times? So there's going to be some of our more smaller herbs or smaller leaf herbs. So we have rosemary. It's one of the biggest. I believe rosemary is, what is the definition of rosemary? Let me see if I can find it really quick. Traditional rosemary. Okay, dew of the sea. So no, that's not the one I'm looking for. Comes from rosmarinus, meaning dew of the sea, because the plant thrives in coastal Mediterranean air. No, I'm looking for a different word. Okay, I gotta find it. If I find it, I'll remember. Okay. Alright, so rosemary is great because it's a leaf crop, it's a blade, it's a leaf, and it can take extreme amounts of heat, more than most. Another one we're gonna do spilanthes again, and that's because the leaves of spilanthes also love heat. We have oregano, because how do you feel about electroculture, electro-agriculture? I go back and forth, and like being a spiritual science head, my heart says it works, but unfortunately, I haven't found enough 7-hour late 90s gram hot. That's awesome. I just saw that. But my heart is like there hasn't, or brain is like there hasn't been enough proof on the study to show it. My heart is like, it makes sense. There's something there. I don't know if we figured it out. Like, it's like the guy who got electricity from plants. Like, years ago, I saw the idea. I was like, you just stick poles in the ground, wrap it with wire, wrap the roots, get electricity. That was the very simplistic idea. But later on, it's like the ion energy. They all figured it out. Someone figured it out in a couple of different places. But with stuff like that, it's like I know electroculture. I know there's something there, but I haven't seen the weight enough for it to really be like, oh, here's an eighth of an acre, 10 acre. Here's a plot full of electroculture. Here's a plot not full of. I've only seen like very small settings, or just like someone like, yeah, put this in the ground and watch it 7 months grow. It's like 7 months, any spot will just grow. Anything that you feed or don't feed is still gonna grow. I haven't, so that's the only tough part. Copper did, wood did. I like being crafty with your intention. You'd be quadrupling your yield. Yeah. So like that, and that's like my thing. It's like I on a spiritual aspect, I'm telling myself it works, but unfortunately, like I wouldn't tell someone else to do it. Like I would never tell someone else to go into it because I don't have enough proof to show them that it works as much as I have proof to show them that, hey, just trust nature and you'll grow regardless if you stick a copper pole or if you stick a broomstick in the ground. If you learn the foundation of this, anything should grow. But I would love to see, like, even if I did the test, I would love if I had a little bit more money to spend on some copper to be like, all right, guys, we're gonna do some solid testings for somebody who's non-biased, from somebody who just wants the data to see, like, will it work? No plant food, just water. Let's try it. Stuff like that. So yeah, like I'm all for the scientific experiments, but right now to me it's more of art in the garden that can benefit an idea. Identifying with this so much. LOL, I'm so spiritual yet logical. Require a test for her. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, give me the data. It's like I'm so effing spiritual. But it's because my life is the data, and it's been proven, and I've learned what to do, what not to do based off of statistics and what and going and getting the work done and all these things. So and for this, it's like I have data to show for years on this foundation, but it's like I didn't create this. This is just learning nature. Dude, Virgo stimulum is the fifth over here. So yeah, no, that's awesome. That's super cool. And I still feel that. I resonate. I definitely resonate. Let me see. Rosemary, spilanthes, oregano. We gotta find more leafy crops to do in the summertime, or something that we're gonna work with. I would consider burdock one of them for the leaf, because burdock can take high heat. Mercury, Mars, and Venus and Mercury in the fifth. I'm exhausting. That's wild. You're just like stay in thought. You're like, I need Give me the information. And sometimes I need the information. If I don't get the information, like, yeah, give me the truth. Give me the truth. Give me the realness. 100%. That's real. I mean, you see. It's fun over here. That's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, it's like the people who usually gravitate towards me are like I get a lot of the people who are like nerdy scientists or like nerdy spiritualists. So I love it because it's like people if you're non open minded, it's like you're not gonna like it here. If you're too critical, it's gonna be like, yeah, you're gonna get like annoyed. But it's like if you like the science or you like the fun and you like to, those are people I usually gravitate towards. Like one of my favorite friends comes through like Alt, and he's a biologist that has maybe not the Venus, but I can't expect much with Pluto in my seventh either. So I learned. I don't know too much about Pluto in the seventh or like Pluto placements that much, to be honest. I'd have to be educated. But yeah, he comes through and we're always just like nerding it up about different things and talking about like dude, we don't have regular conversations. It's always about like some crazy environmental stuff that's going on or like what can be better or like just joking about like just like the dumbest it's just always just nerdy fun, and I freaking love it. I'm just saying we need more people for nerdy fun. Not enough out there. Berkeley. Those are the friends to have the conversations I want to. Yeah, no, he came in and out earlier. He'll definitely be back sometime soon. I know I had about 20 minutes left, and then I'll be out of here. I usually try to keep them down to an hour and a half videos, so they're not super crazy. But I come back and on and off. So usually in the daytime, before like 1 or 2, I'm on and off doing plant stuff. After that, it's just like gaming. At nighttime, just kind of hanging out, just doing my boring old self. I used to have a lot more farming content because I had a farm a few months back, but we canceled the farm. I was working with a partner, and we kind of like stopped working together. So now it's just been back on education. Doing plant stuff. Yeah, just doing plant stuff. But it's typically 90% of my online stuff is more towards education, unless I'm just like playing a game. So if I'm online, it's either I'm gaming or I'm trying to educate some plant stuff, or writing like plant-based books and things like that. So trying to think of other leaves to be used in the summertime, and I can't really think of much right now. The things that are coming are like beet leaf and Swiss chard, but it's really based off of where you're at, because if you can get away with the heat, if you got shade and stuff, we're gonna put beet leaf and Swiss chard. I would still consider it a good time because beets can take a lot more heat than like lettuce and stuff. I wouldn't put lettuce. If you're doing indoor, then yeah, we can even put lettuce tagged indoor. There are a lot of indoor growers that do lettuce in the summertime. So that's one of the few things you can get away with in the summertime indoors. So let's do beet leaf. We'll do lettuce, but that's getting indoored. Lettuce indoor. Oh, and then we said Swiss chard. I don't even remember if Swiss chard is one word or two. Pluto in seventh means relationships tend to be intense, transformative, and psychologically deep. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. Musician. Very, very curious. I'm very interested in that. Rosemary plant leaves, oregano, burdock leaf, beet leaf, lettuce indoor, Swiss chard. What are people trying to eat leaf-wise around summertime? Not a lot. What herbs can we harvest in the summertime. I think we got most of them. Oh, we got lemongrass. Lemongrass loves the heat. Lemongrass. Lemongrass loves the heat. We also have sweet potato leaf. Sweet potato also loves the heat. Sweet potato leaf can be harvested. It was awesome to swipe up and find different. I appreciate knowledge. We'll take it with it. Yeah, anytime. Definitely. See you around. I'll definitely gonna follow you back. And until next time, you have a beautiful day. Aho. Swiss chard, lemongrass, sweet potato leaf. What else are we missing? Indeed. Sweet potato leaf. Feel like we're missing something. Oh, we got moringa leaf. Moringa loves the heat. Moringa leaf. Moringa leaf. We got, let's get 2 more on there. I'll be happy with 2 more. Moringa leaf. Chichu. No squashes. Any vines? There's passion flower leaf. Yeah, people do use passion flower leaf. I forgot about that one. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like passion flower leaf. I think it tastes a little funny. Flower. FLOWR. Leaf. Okay, and one more. Cilantro's cool. Cilantro's not summer. Dill and fennel are technically fall, to be honest. I just put thyme. Let's just put thyme. Small leaves, perfect. Okay. Alright, so here we go. We got our 4. So we finished up our zodiac map or zodiac placements. We understand the fires and the reason for each plant. So fire fruit Aries, earth fruit Taurus, air flower Gemini. It's funny because now that I think about that, I think we did this for the book. Water leaves Cancer, fire fruits Leo, earth fruits Virgo, air flowers Libra, water leaf Scorpio, fire fruit Sag, earth fruits Capricorn, air flowers Aquarius, water leaves Pisces. After that, we get Aries of plants, tomatoes, peppers, melons, squashes, peas, beans, okra, fruit trees, berries. Taurus of plants, radish, carrots, beets, ginger, garlic, onion, burdock root, echinacea root, dandelion root, tulips, saffron leeks. Gemini of plants, dandelion, mallow, hibiscus, calendula, not marigold, tagetes, rose, lavender, ranunculus, sunflower, safflower, allium, chamomile, and spilanthes. Cancer of plants, rosemary, spilanthes, oregano, burdock leaf, beet leaf, lettuce indoor, Swiss chard, lemongrass, sweet potato leaf, moringa leaf, passion flower leaf, thyme. So these are, I think, what we are going to leave today's class with. So I appreciate you guys for all hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I shall catch you later. Peace.